Good morning, everyone. Should I just start off, Zeno?
Morning.
Yeah. So we can go ahead and you know, everybody, thank you so much for being here for our weekly AMA. This one is going to be a development AMA. It's going to be a little bit different. We're just going to fly through a bunch of received questions from the community. And then the second half, starting at about 2:30 p.m. EST, we're going to open it up for people who are working on the transaction bounty, to ask our devs some more specific questions and kind of seek some help on that end as well. But we're first going to start off. Fox is just going to give kind of a general statement of a broad statement of where we are, I guess is the way to phrase that. Yeah, go ahead, Fox. Thank you for being here, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Zeno. Yeah, AMAs are my favorite time of week. I know some people can get stressed about these, but I just really love it because being able to just kind of share all the updates. There's always so many every week. It feels like it's a month, and every month feels like a year. I always say that, but it's true just because there's so much going on. This last week, we had a lot happen as well. Uh, Particularly from the biz dev side of things, I think. There was the exciting announcement last night about Harmony approving our grant. They have a really cool program for grants where they basically incentivize builders on the Harmony chain to come and build awesome things. And our team sort of launched in like August without really trying to do any of those things. We were just like, we saw the technology here and then it was awesome. And then it was really perfect for this style of thing we're building. And we just went for it without really forming some of those relationships first, I guess, with the Harmony team. So we added those things after the fact. And it's been like really nice to work with them. There's like a few of them that are in the close area to like some of our team members. So like we've had lunches with them and things like that. We've seen them at events. We've had shared booths and things like that. And we've been in their chats for basically almost since the start and had a pretty close relationship there. But we would always get asked by our community, like when are you guys going to get a grant? When are you getting a grant? Because obviously our project is a shoe-in for these grants because we're essentially bringing all these new users to this ecosystem, creating this like really like unique content. I think Jackstrew or somebody at a event like recently said something along the lines of like 90% of the transactions on like the blockchain are kind of like related to our project or something. So don't quote me on those numbers. I'm not sure if he was just saying numbers or whatever it was, but it does feel like it is a pretty large chunk of like the stuff that's happening here on Harmony is with our project. So that's really nice to see that they are like looking forward to sort of like working with us more in tandem. And we've had a very good relationship so far, and I think it's just about to get even stronger because a lot of the initiatives that Harmony does really well, like events and just like the whole system where they encourage like development with bounties and charity outreach and stuff like that, is really aligned with our same ethos that we have here in this project. And so we have actually kind of like modeled our programs after some of theirs, where like we would like to start a community grants program soon to basically start to incentivize third-party builders to create like really fun apps and things that will integrate with our like site. And there's a few out there that have already started this. Like there's the Tavern and the Wiki and Kingdom Watch and a few other really good ones out there, which will probably be eligible for these grants as well. But so I think to date, the like largest grants I've seen out of Harmony to projects have been like 50 to 100,000. And ours got 1 million, which is huge. Our plan for that is to basically match that with our own funds and have it be matched with $2 million worth of jewels, and essentially earmark all of that for basically improving the community. So events, bug bounties, uh, grant programs, education, all kinds of things there that Sunbear is like heading up. So since the very start, this has been kind of like one of the dreams I had for this project was like to create a program like this that can really give back to the community, and that's what we're finally able like to do here. So I'm super excited about that. Um, Other than that, let's see. There was a really cool article on like Yahoo Finance about us. I think somebody or a few people here in the community were involved with that. So thank you guys for all of that. That was amazing. We got not like listed per se over on Coinbase, but they basically added us as a coin that they track. So that was cool. And there's a bunch of other things that are happening with like CXs and things behind the scenes, and even like other dexes on like other ecosystems as well. So cool stuff there. What else? The dev. So yeah, we're hard at work on the gardening quest, and on track for it to launch on Wednesday. So I'm really excited about that. It is a very complex quest because we have so many pools, and the math that is involved with that is pretty complex. But we've got like really good unit tests and just hammering it hard because we want to make sure that it's really solid. There have been some concerns recently about other projects out there, other uh, blockchain games, and other like decentralized exchanges that get hacked. And you have some pretty big names out there that it's happening to, and that's why you always have to be very extremely careful, extremely vigilant. And that's also kind of why I'm excited about having our new bug bounty program that we're going to be launching soon to sort of like incentivize everyone to try to find those bugs and come to us and basically get like rewarded for those early. So we've already had a few people that have reached out that have sort of had like recipients of that. Um, and over the last few months, I've had a few people that I've worked with that have like received those. So that's been great. And then having just more of like a official thing in place, I think will help with that even more. And I think there was a question in the AMAs about audits in particular, and I'll speak about that more here in a bit as well. But I think that's basically it from the state of the project. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on. We've really been growing in terms of like the community members, Twitter, Discord, Facebook, etc. Um, and we also had some new contracts get tracked on DApp Radar because up until now it was only really tracking our DEX contracts, but not our actual like stuff that is involved with the game, like hero sales and things. And that brought our volume like way up because it's like one of those things like all of us kind of knew that our volume was way higher than what it showed, but it just like wasn't being tracked. So now, as of like a few days ago, that has started now to be tracked as well. And I think in the past like 24 hours, we've got like 4x the volume of like Axie Infinity. So we're solidly in first place there. And our plans aren't to slow down at all. We're going to keep that growing. So really in an exciting place. It's been like really nice to see the market reacting pretty favorably to our project, even in the midst of a lot of uncertainty across the broad market. So anyways, I'll stop talking. That's been like probably 8 minutes of just me talking about that. But let's hop into some of those AMA questions.
Great. So the first thing I wanna ask, this isn't from a specific community member. You did a touch on it a little bit. We've got a bunch of questions about this as far as Solidity Finance doing our audit and what plans we have or how we're going to react to like Grim Finance getting hacked in the past.
Great, yeah. So that's exactly what I was saying earlier. How we've we've spoken with a bunch of different like auditing firms. Some of them are like really busy and they're booked far out. So we're trying to figure out like how can we sort of like lure them to come over to our project and audit us. So the audit that we had for our decks was really good, and it didn't really find anything, and that's mostly because our decks isn't a lot of things that are very custom. We pretty much are a fork of Sushi Swap with some elements of like Viper Swap added into it with our own little like flavor there. But the core stuff there with like the pools and the decks and all that is basically just tried and true code that has been like running over on Uniswap for I guess almost 2 years or no, a year and a half now. Um, without any hacks or exploits. So that's pretty much solid. And then as we like release like more and more features for our stuff that we're doing with quests and games, what I want to do is I want to make a ongoing like relationship with at least two other auditing firms and have them basically be auditing all of our things every like 2 weeks or so as we have those actually get like released. What I want to do is actually add that into the timeline. So basically we create the code, we do alpha testing, we have them audit it at the same time. And then only after it's audited, we'd have it get actually released at that point. And so having that ongoing like relationship with at least two other firms, I think is high on my priority list right now. And I reached out to some people at Certicay and what was the other one? I can't recall right now, but trying to basically create those ongoing relationships and almost have them on like retainer of a sorts. At the same time, we've also added some really talented Solidity devs onto our team. And so having extra eyes on everything that goes out is really like huge there too, because all of them have a security background to just sort of a kind of like a white hat hacker approach to things. And I also have that as well, extensively in like my background as well. So we do take security very seriously. Obviously, our project has been like really growing and has a lot of like liquidity in it. We've always been very careful with like multi-sig wallets and making sure that even if any of our keys get like compromised, that hackers couldn't really do anything with just only like one set of keys. All those things are very important. We're also flying our entire Solidity team out to a security event in January to just kind of like receive additional training on all of the security best practices that are out there in the industry right now. So I think just like staying on top of that is an ongoing thing. We need to stay vigilant. We need to have those audits regularly, and that is at the very top of my list right now. So we do take all those things very seriously.
Great. Um, so this next question is from Geo Kalika on Discord. I might have said that wrong. When trying to level up my hero, I keep getting the same execution reverted ERC 20 transfer amount exceeds allowance. This is after I approve the rune and jewel contract. Um, I said a lot of words. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes sense. Um, let's see. If he's already approved it, I mean, when you're trying to level up, it will spend some jewels and it will spend some runes. The only thing I can think of is maybe when he hit the approval the first time, it actually allows you in the MetaMask to basically edit the amount that you're approving. And I think right now we have it set to like 99999 or something that you're approving. So you're basically saying, I trust this contract to spend however much it thinks it should spend, which is kind of like the practice you see pretty often right now with dexes. Anytime you approve a token on like our swapping, like for dexes, it basically says approve us to basically spend as much as we want. And that's just kind of how it handles like the swapping. So you don't always have to like reapprove it every single time. But you can edit that and set it lower. And then if it reaches that limit, then there isn't any mechanism right now in the interface to sort of reapprove it. So we might need to add something like that. It's also like one of those things we've kind of gone back and forth a little bit on how much should we ask them to approve? Should it really be 9999 or should it be something lower and have them reapprove every now and then? So we will look into that more. But I'd say for now, add like extra information if you can over into the support channel, and we'll try to help you out there.
This next question comes from Bob Duato. I don't feel like the warning of a hero crystal needing to be summoned immediately or you have to pay a large fee to recharge a crystal is a clear enough warning. It's happened to multiple users. Are you planning on making any changes or doing anything about this? Do you want to take that one, Raspberry?
Yeah, so we are actually removing the crystal recharge feature pretty soon, actually, as soon as we're able to push that out. But it's basically not needed anymore. It was there to try to keep people from re-rolling the randomness, but Fox and others have worked something else out where we don't need the crystal recharge anymore. So I hope you guys are happy about that.
I'm happy about that. It was one of those things that we didn't want to have to do, but we felt that it was the most secure way to make sure that it wasn't gamed. However, since then, we actually came up with other ways that wouldn't require that at all. So that is one of the things we're hoping to upgrade even as soon as this week, but I can't promise that right now. But we have a fix for that pretty far along. We just have to make sure it's really solid with the testing. And then as a part of that, we also plan to run a, I guess, like report or something about everyone who has paid that fee and see if we can get them refunded. Because, it is a lot of money, with Jules at the current price that it is. I think at the start, like when we started out with that fee, jewels were $1.50 and it wasn't so prohibitive. But now that it's so much higher, it is a lot to ask. So we're going to try to figure out everyone who paid that and see if we can get you guys refunded on those as well.
That's exciting. That's cool. Are there any plans to add a bidding system to the tavern or other in-game marketplaces instead of just setting a price, buying and selling, but where people can actually bid on different NFTs?
I don't know who you wanted to answer that, but I do have an answer for that. So I guess I'll take it. We're actually in the process of upgrading our auctions right now on the tavern to support basically setting a start and an end price for these. So for example, you could say, I want to sell this hero for 100 jewels, but over the next 7 days, it will slowly lower that price to 50 jewels or something. So that could allow you to have sort of a more dynamic range. So you can start it out higher, and if somebody really wants it at the higher rate, they could snag it. But if they are like, I'm going to wait until it goes down a little bit, then that's an option too. Other people, I mean, you could also set the price lower at the start and have it slowly like raise over time if that's your thing. So I'm excited about that, but it is like one of those things that would probably like require everyone to I guess unlist their hero and then like relist them again with those newer settings. So having that like roll out would be a little bit more of a process. So we'll probably get to that soon, but I can't promise any times. But it is high on my list. I would like to get that out really soon.
Okay, this next one comes from Gravely. Are there any plans to add filters to the heroes that like can give a range of summons left over? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Pinecone might have something to say about
Oh
that.
yeah, Pinecone.
Yeah, for sure. It's on the list. For the API version 6 that I'm working on currently, we're firstly going to aim for feature parity with the API version 5, and then we're gonna add features like summons left for the so the front end can query directly for the backend, and then we'll be able to let you select any number of summons that you want to search for.
Cool. That'll be helpful for me. I play this game like crazy, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
Our
I need
next
it
question.
too.
Our next question comes from Hasbro. It's a pretty big question. I'm gonna try to shorten it down. Because we're unaware of how stats impact the game, but we're already able to level up our heroes. Is there going to be an option to re-roll our stats in the future? That might be a good Hubert question.
Yeah. So I guess my answer is no. We do not have plans for re-rolling, and the reason for that is I understand, the game is going to be evolving as we're playing, and right now, you're making decisions based on the professions. Later, there's going to be other quests, and decisions you make for professions may not be the best decisions you're making for like a combat build. But we kind of have to work in the system that we have, and one big element of this game is randomness and luck with when you're rolling your stats. So if we allowed you to re-roll your stats, you could end up with more than what you got the first time around. I really don't think that is fair or should be allowed. And it could also work the other way, where you end up with much worse stats than what you had the other time too. So no, we're not going to allow that. I hope we're giving you enough information to make good decisions. In general, I think I've answered before as well that for combat, we typically, the stats that grow the best for heroes, like for a given class, are going to be like the most important. So it would be good to think about that when you're making your decisions. But you could also be trying to have like the best fisher or whatever, and making decisions in that way too. Ultimately the only decisions you get to make are your 1+1 bonus and then the 2 Gaia's blessings. So that's on the larger scale of how many stat ups like that you can receive. That's a smaller piece. So it does impact things, but you'll just have to do the best you can, and we'll try to make sure that we give you enough information to inform your decisions as best we can. But we do also have features that may come out that right now we haven't considered, and that could potentially change things again. But I'd rather us go down that route and have that be the case, and not limit ourselves like, well, we said this already, and so we can't have this new cool feature because people made decisions to like be the best forager already. So it's just if you make the best forager, it'll still be the best forager afterwards. It just might not be the best combat hero, and that's just kind of how things go. This game has a lot of different angles you can approach things in, and that's kind of the intent. So yeah. Anyway, that's all I can say on there. So.
Well, and just to add on to that, I think, one of the intentions of having the ability to summon new heroes is so that you could pursue different routes as the game progressed. And you could say, well, I'm going to summon a new guy and I'm going to hope for these stats versus those stats. And so you can combine your heroes, you can hire additional heroes. We're really hoping that people find more ability to get new heroes with new stats and level up in different ways as the game grows. But as Hubert said, you're not going to make your really good fisher obsolete. He's always going to be a good fisher. But if he's the wrong class to be a fisher, he may not be the best person to be a fisher. So just kind of pay attention to those things. The general information that's been given is a really good guideline.
This next question comes from Vicus or Vicus. Can the quest reward screen display the names of the heroes as well as the pictures of their mugshots? Raspberry, you want to take that?
Yeah, so this is something we've already done. You can actually, on your desktop, hover over their mugshots and you can see the names. However, I understand that this might not work on mobile, so I think we'll consider adding maybe a tooltip for it. We're also planning on adding new borders around the heroes so you can see what rarity those heroes are, because that could play, into the future of battle quests once we get there.
Great. This one is from Dunsparrow. Can you explain, if it was intentional, why it takes longer for multiple heroes and multiple quests to complete as opposed to a single hero only taking 20 seconds for one quest? Hubert?
Yeah, so it was intentional to do it that way. It kind of, as for those that were here when we had the wishing well in its first iteration, it was a lot of work to get all of your heroes all lined up and all doing their one quest. You had to do a lot of different transactions, and with going through and trying to make it, the user experience better, we were looking at, okay, if we let multiple heroes quest in parallel, what are the impacts to that? One concern I had was that it could create a situation where more resources are being put out than intended. So the additional time is kind of a convenience cost. You lose a little bit of efficiency, but you get more done in one set of transactions. But also from a lore perspective, I think it makes sense to say, if you have one person fishing in a pond full of fish, they're gonna be able to catch some fish a lot faster than if you have multiple people there. They have to wait longer to be able to catch the fish. And similarly with foraging, maybe the resources that are out there in the woods are, there's the ones that are really apparent, and then there's the ones that's, hiding behind a bunch of bushes and you have to really look for it. So I think also from a lore perspective, it makes sense to have it that way. And My hope is that eventually we're going to have some animations to go along with that too, to make things look a little cooler, and that additional time that you're waiting, you can enjoy looking at your heroes doing stuff. But that is still, I mean, don't quote me as that being a true feature. It may not happen, but I hope it can. So we'll see what we come up with. So
Yeah, Hubert has been like really pushing for that since the very start, and I think that is something that we want to do.
Cool. This next one comes from Endlessly Awake. What happened to the secret snapshots taking place during the first and second lane giveaways? The team said there would be secret snapshots, and since then nothing has been said. Fox, that might be good for you.
So there's a couple secret snapshots. There's the ones that we did back in September, I think it was. That would be for gold and some potions and pet eggs and a few other things. And for that one, we actually are hard at work on that. We had to create a new airdrop smart contract because our current one only supports jewels. But our plan is to basically make it very easy for you to have all of the items that you've been airdropped all like within like one interface. So that one is in the final stages right now, so it'll be ready soon. And then for the other snapshots, like we had sort of alluded to snapshots for like leading up to the Crystal Veil, and we still have all kinds of plans for those. Our plan was to try to get out the questing first for the gardening and for the mining. We are currently in the process of a snapshot right now for the amulets, and we're going to do some more for some stuff that will be like leading up to the Crystal Veil, so you can earn things like crystals and other like really cool things over in that realm as well. We have a lot of really cool ideas for those in the works, so stay tuned.
Yeah, I think the important thing is that we are taking a lot of snapshots on a regular basis, daily. We're taking multiple snapshots. Some of them are advertised on purpose, and other things, we are looking at potentially finding people who meet certain criteria, and we're looking at doing some fun things. Maybe it's the people who have the most of something or have done different things. It's not just going to be exactly, the people who have 5,000 X jewel in the bank, but we are doing a lot of fun things. It's just been waiting on this airdrop functionality to be out there. So we realize it's been a little while since things have been airdropped, but we definitely have those on our minds.
Right. I think it would be, this is from Tosh on Discord. I think it'd be helpful to have a place in the game that shows where jewel transaction costs go. My thought was like a fireplace or a furnace that tracks how much jewel has been burned, and then have the distribution percentages listed there as well.
It's like put jewels in the fireplace.
Put jewels in the
Just stick them in there.
Yeah, so I have some thoughts on this too, and I'm hoping this is what you're thinking. But there are a lot of fun stats and other information that we want to have in the game, a lot of which are available on our doc site or in various channels. But we want to make that a little bit more accessible from within the game. So we're looking at adding things, even such things like patch notes, right? We're starting to add things that are just accessible all within that one interface. And we're working on ways of being able to get reliable and consistent information in there that can be supplemental, not necessarily critical to playing the game or doing the actions that are required in the game, but can be those supplemental things that you can just find. And so one example of that is, if you go to the tavern, there's a little logbook sitting there on the desk, and we're hoping to be able to have some transactional information that can be accessible there. But anything that can help you or is actionable within the game, we want to be able to have directly in the interface. So we're just looking at different ways of including that information. And so some of that's going to be that information that was requested or mentioned. So
I actually think that's a pretty cool idea. Like, here's how many jewels have been burned in the fire. Like
yeah,
that's
exactly.
awesome.
It would be really cool. So we're looking, again, it's going to be anything that's not actionable necessarily, something that's not critical to the game, but we'll have little tidbits, almost like Easter eggs that you can click on that logbook or the fire. I like the fire. I hadn't thought about that before. but we do want that information to show up. I think one major consideration we're looking at right now is the API and the RPC issues that we're dealing with, just making sure that we have accurate data that is actionable, or basically data that's critical to the functionality of the game. We want to make sure that we're not taking away resources or causing additional calls to our API to be, bogging down our system. So it's all something that's in the works. I think it's a great idea. I'm excited personally about adding some of that information there. And our new APIs and other things that our amazing developers are working on are going to enable us to do some of that. So
I have a feeling people are just going to sit in the tavern and watch the fireplace all day.
yeah, actually, and so this is something cool that, and Fox has mentioned similar things like this before, but we'd love to have dynamic
I was about to
reactionary
say that.
experiences where you can actually see as things are burning, you can see the fireplace grow potentially. This is a brand new concept that we just barely thought about right now, but we've thought about being able to show things as the portal is active and being able to have things more dynamic and exciting and interactive as the game grows. So again, our new APIs, better RPC, things that are being actively in the works are going to help us enable some of these cool features.
Yeah, like for example, we could just like listen for events on the blockchain and say, hey, anytime a hero gets like summoned across everyone, it would have them come through the portal, and like anyone who's just in that zone just watching could see them at that exact time that they're summoned. Just like, boom, here's a new hero. Boom, here's a new hero. And then like over in the tavern, we could show like random heroes in there. Every time you are in there, you could have like some new ones there. I think actually the castle, or I probably shouldn't talk about that, huh? Okay. Okay. I won't talk about that.
What castle, Fox?
The castle.
There's no castle.
No,
Yeah,
we already told them that was coming.
Okay.
I think it was in the Ladies of DeFi. We had talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Teeny bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are
Next
all,
question.
to me, these are all fun little things that we just want to add where we have data. We want to be able to show that data or represent that data somehow visually within the game. And so we're definitely working on those things.
Okay, subtle topic change here. Greedy Fly is asking, will there be PvE quests that require more than one hero to complete? And if so, is it going to be possible to team up with a friend to complete the quests if I have too few heroes? That might be a good question for Hubert.
So as far as teaming up with a friend, I think what will be like, we have to think of how it's going to work with the smart contracts, and having something that's like a multi-sig questing setup would be pretty challenging, I think. What we have said already though is that we do plan to have like hero renting being a thing, not renting for summoning, but renting to use heroes. So it could be something where you and your friend like rent each other your heroes for really cheap, or basically zero, and then you can share your heroes with each other. Some scenario like that I think would be a lot easier for us to achieve than tandem questing. So, but I'm not going to rule it out completely. I just think, in terms of what we're doing and how we're setting things up, it likely will be more like the rental scenario.
It would be interesting to have something with like, if you're in a guild, you could allow some of your guild mates to have access to some of your heroes.
Yeah, like
Right.
a pre-rental or a pre-approval. Because again, you don't want to have somebody sit there online at the same time as you and say, hey, we're going to start this quest. But if you have access to their heroes and you can share the rewards, I think that's definitely something we've discussed. And I love the guild idea.
Yeah, and working with some PvE quests sounds like fun, but it sounds like more fun to just beat Tango in PvP. So, the last thing
Bring it.
the last thing I want to comment on before we shift gears into the bounty AMA. There's been some reports about some RPC issues as far as hero transactions going on. And Tango and Fox, or anybody else, I didn't know if you guys wanted to comment on that a little bit.
RPC issues, I think it's sort of a like ongoing pain point sometimes, where we are on a blockchain and we're trying to do something that hasn't ever been done before on a blockchain. And a lot of the things that were built that we're using, like for instance, we have our own node for the graph. We're kind of built for Ethereum in the first place, and Ethereum does like 30 transactions per second. Actually, it's more like 15, I think. But of those transactions that are being done, it's generally just like sending Ether to someone or really simple things. Ours has like hundreds of transactions per second, and it's really complex because it's like, let's calculate the rewards for these like 6 heroes that you sent on a attempting this like quest like 5 times each. That's like 30 things it has to figure out, and each of those have like so many events. So there's hundreds of events in each of those blocks, and so it can be hard for some of the blockchains to really keep up with that. Harmony has been doing really good with it. I've been impressed. But there are issues sometimes with those as well. So that's part of why we're redoing our API infrastructure from scratch. And instead of trying to use stuff that's created for these slower, older blockchains out there, we have to basically create things entirely new in-house to manage that. So that's why we brought on Pinecone, and he's hard at work on that stuff. In the meantime, we're just trying to stay afloat, I guess, with those things. And we have added in sort of like a bunch of fallback methods, so that if the API isn't indexing all of the events because there's too many all at once, then we have it read directly from the RPC. And so that can be tricky sometimes as well, because it has to like loop through those heroes and query each one on the chain, and sometimes can be slower as well. So it's really good problems to have because it means we've got so many players and active users, but it's also one of those things we take very seriously, that we are trying to just create this whole new architecture that will solve these issues. So for now, hang in there. We are constantly like looking to improve that, and we are actively at work with a really cool solution that will hopefully make all that a lot less, I guess, troublesome for us. Anything you want to add over there, Pinecone?
Yeah, I have a hint. The RPCs, if you have trouble, you could try and switch to the other one. Like if you have using Poct, try to switch to the official one and so on. Because the other day Poct deployed improvement, and they have 5 regions. So 3 of the regions, like I don't know which one, but like say Europe and North America and maybe Australia, worked really nice. But the final 2 didn't work, so they had to revert it, but it took some time before they discovered that. So if you have problems, try to just switch to the other RPC vendor, or like the official one, and see if that helps.
Yep, excellent point. Yeah, I think that's about it. And then obviously, like sometimes the network will be more congested than at other times. Sometimes it'll just have issues, so we try to be aware of those. And if the network is having issues for a little while, sometimes it's just something we have to deal with, and it can hopefully get fixed soon. And it's not really in our control per se, but we are in pretty close talks with like Harmony. So, for example, when the testnet went down, they were able to get that fixed fairly quickly as well. So I think they are trying to stay on top of that, like as much as they can as well.
Great. Thank you everybody for being here. Thank you, team, for providing those awesome answers, and thank you to the community for asking the questions. We're going to shift gears here, and we're going to start, an AMA for people working on the transaction history report generator bounty. And we're going to be looking at that topic specifically. I have a couple questions we've already received, and then afterwards, I'll start calling people on stage to kind of ask those questions. And I know Raspberry, she has to get back to work, so she's about to take off.
Yeah, sorry, I gotta go. Bye.
Bye, Raspberry. So if you raise your hand and I invite you on stage, please keep in mind that we're just shifting to this other topic for now. So the first question, does it matter what layer application? It has to be graphical or not, web-based, lower level, etc. As far as the report generator.
I feel like some of these were also kind of answered in the document, but I'm not sure if that's been shared. Do you remember that compilation you made of all those things over there, Zeno, that I answered? Has that been shared?
Are you? Did I make that?
Someone did. Like here, it might have been Sunbear or someone, but basically, we had a lot of feedback and questions about the transaction bounty that we put out, the transaction tracker that will help everyone like with their taxes. And I'm excited about this because I think it's a like really needed thing, especially at like this time of year when everyone's trying to figure out how much they have to pay. And so we put out that bounty, and then there was a lot of questions about it, and one of them was one of those. And I think I said something along the lines of, any format is fine, but if you want to win the bug bounty, like obviously ease of use is going to be important. If there's just like regular users playing this game and you're like, here's this thing you install with yarn and then you run yarn start and do it from the command line, probably a lot of people aren't going to be able to figure that out, so it might not get as many votes as like something else that's more like full featured. So in the end, we're going to have a community vote to help to choose those winners, and we'd also like to have like like a bunch of like runner-up prizes as well. So if that's all that you can do is something like that, I would say still do it, because if like nothing else, you're at least like learning these really awesome skills about how to create these apps that interact with the blockchain, which is a huge need right now out there in the marketplace. And as you improve those skills, we'll have tons of other bounties as well that like you could hone in on those skills and start to like submit things there as well. And there's also a lot of like runner-up prizes. So even if it might not win the full thing, you could probably still get something for it.
Okay, cool. So Bolon did confirm that document was shared. So I'm just going to, I think, shift gears here, and I'm just going to start inviting people up on stage who have these questions, and then we can try to answer them, because I'm going to assume they know what's already been addressed or what's not. I haven't seen that document yet, so these questions I've already collected might not be great. So M Sunkel 2234. I've invited you on stage. Looks like he canceled. Okay. Blockmain, we'll try you next. Sorry, guys, just bear with us here. There we
Hello?
go. Hi, how are you doing?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us? Okay. We're going to move on to HRO. Sorry about that, Blockmain. If you raise your hand, we can try that a second time.
Hello,
HRO. Yes, we can hear you.
awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for having me here. I've been working on this new bounty. Thanks so much for having this fun project for us. Good present for the holiday. I was wondering, so the thesis here is that people may want to use this for tax purposes, but I also fear that there will be a lot of people from other countries than the US. They may though want to use this kind of tool for just tracking their portfolio or their success or just their transactions. So just curious to know what's going to be the kind of criteria you're going to use for this bounty selection. Is that going to be mainly about tax calculations or just whatever most of the users like at the end of the day?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. We are a like worldwide game. Some other countries have their own, like laws for taxes, and they're all going to be different. So I think that creating a more generalized tool that allows you to see all of your transactions and export them into spreadsheets or something with like profit and loss, I guess, and information about like how much the transaction was worth at the time. And then if you, for example, if you had a quest where you earn like some runes and those runes were worth like $10 at the time, and then later on you sold those runes for jewels when they're worth like $30, then you had a profit there. In the first place, you had a profit of like $10 per rune from the quest, but then when you turn around and sold them, you have another profit of like $20 for those that you sold. So just tracking the profits as it goes, and then in the other direction too. If you summoned a like hero and it costs you $600 worth of jewels, and then you sold that hero for like $300 because maybe you didn't get a very good roll, then you have a loss there, and so it would also add that into your like running total, I guess you could say, across a certain like period of time.
Yeah, I think to answer the question directly, we are looking at this, for tax purposes is going to be part of the criteria. But the information, like what Fox just mentioned, is something that we think everyone would be interested in seeing. Did I make money or did I lose money? But at the end of the day, we need to be able to extract all of our transactions out based on the different types and see, how much things were worth versus how much they are worth. Or however that's going to look. But yeah,
Yeah, that makes
I think it's
sense.
stuff that everyone will want to see.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think probably what the we'd better think about is to make it as generic as possible and maybe just make it easy to track the transactions and the value of each and whatever gain and losses at each point.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yep. Yeah, and these will not just to set the record straight, I guess, is we are not looking to make something that is specifically calculating US taxes or anything like that. We want something that we can extract and take to our tax consultants as needed or as desired and let them sort through. So it just has to be something that's clean and understandable. Whether you're using it for your own purposes or your own taxes, it should be very generic and agnostic, as was mentioned. So thank you for the question.
Also, with that said, I mean, there could be people out there that are trying to create a tool that will cater towards a very specific use case on top of some of these other tools, and it might actually consume some of the data from these other ones. So in the
Yes.
future, that could be something that is actually built, but for now, that's not necessarily what we're looking for.
I think that's a really good idea. If this is used as some sort of a service or an API, for example, that it's the generic, source of data we go to. At some point, I may want a US tax specific application, but we don't have to rebuild, recreate the wheel from the beginning. We can use the data that's there. So that's a good idea.
Great, thanks, HR. Let's try Blockmain again and invite you up to speak.
Hello.
And
Hey, I'm a beginner to all this. So starting from the basis point of having MetaMask on Chrome, what's the easiest way to exchange that for Joule?
Not sure I understand the question. Can you rephrase again? Exchange your MetaMask for Joule?
So I have MetaMask, Ethereum, and it's on Chrome, just a little bit. And how can I purchase Joule?
Okay. So first of all, you need to make sure you're on the Harmony network. That's one of the things a lot of people get kind of tripped up on. But if you aren't, and if you're on our game and you go to our game, it has a tutorial that will show you kind of how to get connected to Harmony. And then once you're there, if you have Ethereum, for example, on the Ethereum network, you have to get it to the Harmony network. So you're gonna have to bridge it or something using Harmony Bridge. And from there, you could basically swap that here inside of our game, even or at the marketplace. Is that what you're
Is
asking?
Harmony in ERC20?
Yep.
So
No,
you guys don't
sorry.
run on Avalanche?
Well, okay, yeah. So Harmony is EVM compatible, which means it's basically using the same technology as Ethereum. So is Avalanche. Our plan is to expand to Avalanche. We've actually announced that in Q1 of 2022, but we're not there right now. We're currently only
Okay.
on Harmony right now.
Okay, got it. Harmony. So that's the token to exchange for Jewel on the DeFi Kingdoms platform.
Yep. So if you got some Harmony one, I think there's even some exchanges that will sell it that you can use for that. And
Sweet.
you should ask over in our support channel too. There's some like really helpful people there that can help you with that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And in regards to the taxes, yeah, I've seen a lot of third-party software that help track your taxes through your wallets and through exchanges as well, and all different sorts of platforms. So I think there's something out there already that people can use if they need it.
Yeah, so there are some tools out there, but from what we've seen, they don't really cover something this complex where we've got so many different ERC20 tokens and transactions and things going on. That's why we're putting out this bounty basically to see if we can get something built more specifically for ours, because it's like one of those things where you're playing this game and everything you do in the game is a transaction that you could owe like some taxes on basically. So it's a whole
Right.
other level.
Oh wow.
All right, thanks, Blockbait. I'm gonna move to Metes. Sorry about that. METTEZ. I have invited you on stage to ask a question. If you're still present. J Harp, I just invited you on stage. Oh, okay. Well, then we'll just have to wait a second. Hello, how are you doing?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I raised my hand previously during the AMA, but I'm not specifically asking about the app you're developing, so I'm not sure if this is the time to ask. Maybe I'll ask it later in the suggestions channel.
Yeah, that would probably be best. We're running short on time here, and we really do want to help
Absolutely,
the
no
people that
problem.
are working on spawning. Thank you.
Go ahead.
All
Can
right,
you hear
J
me?
Harp, we can hear you
Yes.
now.
Yes, I just wanted to know, regards to Crystal Vale, how will the auction go for the heroes, and how many heroes will be auctioned off? Will it be 500 or 1,000 or more than that?
I think we've said a quarter of what we did for Harmony, which would be about 500, and it's not going to necessarily be an auction, but I think this is also like one of those questions that you could ask else like over in that channel, because we're trying to just kind of get stuff for the bug bounty, or not the bug bounty, the transaction bounty that we're doing right now for this Q&A. So
Okay, and then I guess the last thing, I know it's going to be coming out Q1 of 2022. Would that be February or March, or just Q1 in general?
Q1 in general, we're hard at work. We've got a lot of things in stages of development for that. Some of them are further along than others. So we're actually having a meeting tomorrow to try to hammer out a more accurate timeline. But for now, we're just saying Q1.
Thanks, J Harp. All right, Mellow Green Giant, please try to keep the questions related to the bounty for the transaction development.
Hi, yeah. This is actually about the transaction bounty.
Yay, our hero.
So I've been trying to understand the entering the liquidity pool. So my question is, it's kind of obfuscated in the game, but I'm trying to make sure I understand when you enter liquidity pool in DeFi Kingdoms, is there actually an exchange of your two currencies for a liquidity pool token, or is it just tracking it in some other way as far as your ownership percentage? I'd just like to understand that, because it will trigger another taxable event if it's an exchange for a token versus just a tracking.
Yeah, so the way it works is you actually put in your two tokens into the pool. So you are actually sending those tokens out of your wallet into the Uniswap. What is it? The Uniswap pair smart contract, which will then create you LP tokens, which will say, here's your ownership of that. So it's kind of akin to buying stocks, is how I kind of like to liken it. And it says, here's your LP tokens, which is kind of like your like shares of that pool. Is it a taxable transactionable event here in the USA. I believe so. I think the IRS or someone has like said basically anytime you have anything enter or like leave your like wallet, that's a transfer, which then could be taxed. But as far as the actual impact of it, it's basically saying here's some LP tokens that are worth the exact amount of the amount that you put in. So you're not really earning or like losing anything from that transaction. So I don't think it's necessarily something you might owe anything on.
But I guess to add to that, though, when you're breaking the tokens back up again, at that point the value would
Oh, yeah, that's
likely
true.
be different. So you do need to track it when you put in, so that you know when you pull out what's different. So
That is true. If you just held on to it, you wouldn't pay taxes. But since you did transfer it, it's basically like realizing the value of it at that point. So yeah, it would make you to have to do the short term capital gains as opposed to like the long term if you just held it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I was assuming there was an event when you take it out for sure, but that helps. Thanks to clear it up. It sounds like you do exchange for a different kind of token when you enter as well, so that'll be a second event we need to track.
That's correct. Yeah, and then if you stake it in the gardens, trying to remember, I think if you stake it in the gardens, you actually transfer your LP tokens to the master gardener contract, and it basically tracks in its own state who owns like which ones. So it's not actually issuing you new tokens, but you are transferring those tokens to that, and then if you want to withdraw, it transfers them back to you.
Interesting. Yeah, that when it's described that way, it sounds like you might not actually have an event there.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a tax expert, but it is for sure something we'd want to track either way, I think.
yeah, I think definitely when you actually break those LPs up, you would be exchanging one type of token for two types of tokens. So that definitely would be an event when you do that.
All right, thanks for the info, guys.
Yep. Thanks for the questions.
Miller. Does anybody else have any questions related to the transaction tracker that they would like to come up on stage and ask?
There's two people with their hands raised: Patty Cakes, Gandalf, and Frodo.
Oh, let's
Over
let's
abroad.
do patty cakes.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. I have a question. Do you guys have a channel that you've set up for these bounties, like specifically for like maybe joining up with a team? I haven't worked specifically with creating apps on blockchain, but I'd definitely be interested in joining some people who might have a little bit more information and helping out.
Yeah, there is a channel for this bounty in particular, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, as far as like creating a team in there, I think that's for sure something you could ask around and say, hey, I have X, Y, and Z skills. If anyone else could like use that on their team.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Under the community
Just add-
tab, there's a channel called Transaction Tracker Discussion. You can hop over there and probably start trying to.
I'll just add that you need to sign up with in the forum, and Bolon will invite you to that channel.
Through the registration,
Okay.
you'll get added to that channel, but it is a private channel, so you have to register first to be added to it.
Okay. There we go.
Okay. Sorry, I was not clear on that. Thanks, Bolin.
Oh, I was muted. Gandalf and Frodo, I got you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So I had a question on Lock Jewel. So would it be a taxable event when you claim it from the gardens or when you actually unlock it?
I think the locked jewels wouldn't be taxable because those are actually owned not by you; they're owned by the Jewel smart contract. And so it's just like it has a I guess earmarked that they're yours, but they're not really in your wallet. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Got it. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Gandalf. Next, let's invite up Bernie. I've invited you on stage, Bernie.
Once again, he's coming before us to ask for donations or something, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm once again asking you to.
Yeah.
Okay, while we're waiting on Bernie, I'll go ahead and invite you up on stage, Ogre.
Our favorite ogre.
Hey.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Good.
Good. How you doing, Ogre?
Doing fantastic. Thank you guys again for all the amazing work you're doing. And I love this bounty project that you're working on. Something that I didn't notice mentioned in there, mentioned transactions. Are you planning on including just the claiming of Jewel, which kind of carries over with the previous question, so that as time goes on over the year, we have all of our initial mints. This one would be for tax purposes.
Yeah, for sure. So the intention is to basically say, here's all of the smart contracts that are involved with, like this project, and have sort of a holistic view of any time you had any of our tokens enter your wallet, which would include like claiming from gardens and things like that as well.
Awesome. Exactly what I need. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ogre. Love you.
Love you guys. Excited to see you.
Oh, I cut him off early. I'm so sorry, Ogre.
Nice.
Bernie,
Can you
I
hear me?
unmuted you, so go ahead.
Yeah, cool. You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I was just going to go a little bit. I'm not a tax attorney or anything like that, but I have read quite a bit about this. So one way you can do like LP positions, for example, at least that I've been doing for token tax, is you do like you like have two transactions where you're buying like say LP position tokens like Jewel LP, and then with like you buy half of the tokens of that transaction with say USDC, and then half of that transaction with Jewel for buying Jewel USDC, for example. And then you buy like then you can get prices for that LP token, and then it becomes like a capital gains transfer. And then you can do a deposit withdrawal to the gardens, and then of course anything that you like claim is income, right, at the current prices. But I wanted to make a big statement that we need prices for all those things, for all these like random tokens at the time, because you need the cost basis for everything. So it's pretty important to have all that. So like all these, and there's like, I don't know how to handle the illiquid stuff, right? Because like we got tiers when they were worth like $40 for like the Gen Zero airdrop. And so I'm like, that was a lot of money at the current tier price, but I don't know how that's going to be like if that's reasonable or not. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot of little considerations like that, but yeah, go for it.
That's there is a lot there, and I fully agree that like having the exact amount that it's actually worth at those times is important.
Yeah, I was just gonna say if it's for mostly tax purposes, that's like it has to be in there, like because if you don't have the cost basis, like you're gonna have people like looking back and there's not a lot of charts from the early days.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Dex graph node that we have for like the charts, it has the ability for you to put in a block number and get out the like ratios at that block number. But yeah, it probably will need to be beefed up if everyone's going to start hitting it with all these other applications. So we'll have to probably figure something out.
As we've seen with everything that does that. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to get a little bit in that. Well, there's a lot of people that are working on this because there is some little intricacies that you can use to make it easier. But yeah, I would love to have a good one because I don't want to do 10,000 plus transactions. Thanks.
Right. Thanks, Bernie.
Thanks, Bernie. All right, it looks like the last person is Robbie. Or Rabbi. I don't know. But I just invited you on the stage.
Not sure if it's Rabbi or Robbie.
Yeah. Can you hear us?
I can hear static when you try to talk.
Yeah, it just sounds like you're in a car or a bus or a plane. Well, he would be our last person. So I guess we can kind of bring this to a close unless he speaks up and interrupts me while I'm closing this out. Thank you, everybody. We're about 5 minutes past our stop time. please, if you have any more questions regarding this tracker, reach out to Bolon or Isla or register for that transaction tracker discussion channel. So you can get in there and you can start communicating, and I'm sure Fox and Tango and some of our other guys will be in there, like kind of helping out, answering questions as we go too. Did anybody have any final words or thoughts or anything?
Just real quick, that I'm really excited about this bounty, and I want to have an extensive program in place to sort of incentivize and like reward creating apps that like relate to our thing. And we are really close right now for that to happen. This was kind of a test, I guess, of like that, and sort of like trying to see what works and what doesn't. And we'll have a lot more in the future for all kinds of things. You'll have other projects that maybe they want to make a game that like will use our hero NFTs or something, or there's like all kinds of stuff out there that we'd like to incentivize and start to reward with that. So excited for the future of this program. Thanks everyone who's currently throwing in their gauntlets in it, and hopefully all of us can like learn and grow and help each other, and all of us can earn at least like something out of this. So thanks everyone.
I guess. If nobody else on the team has any final closing statements, thank you so much everybody for being here. Like Fox said, I want to reiterate, thank you for taking the time and energy and effort to participate in this bounty and try to get this going. It's something we're all really excited about. You guys are great, and I look forward to being here next week.
All right, see you guys. Thanks for coming.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.